Be prepared for more load shedding. Eskom is warning consumers of a strain on the grid over the next fortnight. The power utility says it's expecting an increase in electricity demand over the next 2 weeks, with many businesses resuming operations after closing for the festive season. Let's discuss this further now with energy analyst Chris Yelland. Chris, compliments of the season. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
Not good news to start off the year, but to be fair to Eskom, they did tell us at the end of the last year that up to March this year, things might be tight.
Yes, and I think it goes much further than March this year. We're looking at a difficult situation, probably for the next 2 to 3 years at least, as Medupi and Kusile are still running late. The first unit is supposed to be coming on stream or first synchronized on the 24th of December, has been delayed yet again. We don't know exactly when it's going to come on stream.
From what you know, what's causing these delays? Because I recall here speaking to Andrew Etzinger, the spokesperson of Eskom, several times last year, saying December 24, the first phase of Medupi will come on stream, or the testing, whatever the technical language is. What's causing these delays?
Problem is Eskom seems to continuously overpromise and underdeliver. You're right, they had a very well publicized 100-day countdown to the 24th of December, when first synchronization of Unit 6 was supposed to take place. The Minister announced it, the Eskom CEO announced it, there was great fanfare. It hasn't happened. The problems really have been related to what is known as blow-through. Blow-through is a process at which steam is blasted through the boiler and through the pipework in order to clean it of debris and scale and dirt that is accumulated in the construction phase. And this has taken longer than planned.
But one would hope that the new CEO, Tsiriso Matuna, would get on top of this, because if you have a 100-day plan that's publicized and you're not keeping to it, surely some accountability comes into play. I know it's not a question to ask you, but in my view, if you're the leader of such an organization and energy plays an important part in our economy, some action should take place to make sure that at least people keep to the deadlines.
Well, there's been a long history of deadlines broken in this project. You may remember the heads will roll promised by Minister Gagaba. Well, that was for first commissioning of Unit 6 1 year ago in December 2013, and it was delayed 2014. So we have these ongoing promises that get broken. And I must stress, the mere fact that that first synchronization didn't take place on the 24th of December, and maybe it will take place 2 weeks later, in itself is not a critical issue.
Okay,
but the critical issue, it's sending out a continuous message of failure to meet commitments. And whilst these failure to meet commitments is taking place, we're having load shedding. And this is sending a very bad signal about Eskom's performance to the country.
But we've been told by Eskom that load shedding is necessary to avoid total blackout. So we're going to live with load shedding for the next 2 to 3 years, in your view. So we as consumers, as users of energy, have to be bracing ourselves for that kind of situation for the next 3 years and take some measures.
I think it's true. We have to realize that it is inevitable that we're going to have load shedding. Not only inevitable, but in fact desirable at the domestic level. And I say this because the only way Eskom is going to be able to do the maintenance that it should be doing, that it has to do by the book, is to reduce load somewhat by switching off generators and giving itself some space to do the maintenance properly. So the only way it can do this maintenance is by load shedding. And I'm hoping that this load shedding will be restricted to the domestic sector, where it is an inconvenience, rather than the productive economic sector, where it has severe economic implications, including jobs.
So we in our homes should pay the price rather than industry and manufacturing sector, because that's very important for the economy. I think that's what you're saying. But very briefly, should South Africa, or does Eskom still export energy? Should we be selling to anybody else, or rather use that for ourselves?
This is a regular issue that is raised. Why are we supplying electricity to our neighbors at a time when we're load shedding in South Africa? And I must stress that I think it's a bit of a red herring. And let me explain. Firstly, to say that the amount of power that Eskom exports is small compared to what it imports. In fact, we import from our neighbors far more electricity than we export to our neighbors. And we only export to our neighbors really when we have a surplus capacity. And when we have shortages and the country is load shedding, we also effectively load shed our neighbors.
Yeah, I know it's not a question for you, but I think we're going to have to ensure or pray at least that Mozambique stays stable, for example, politically after the elections now, because, you know, Renamo has not really accepted the final results because we import a lot from Cahora Bassa.
We import about 1,500 megawatts from Cahora Bassa, which is very significant. I must tell you that the line from Cahora Bassa is actually very vulnerable. Not only vulnerable from perhaps unrest and security perspective, but also vulnerable from fires and trip outs. It experiences regular and ongoing trip outs, which interrupts this flow of power from Mozambique, and this is a continuous problem. And many occasions when we're experiencing shortages in South Africa is when the line from Cahora Bassa is down.
Thank you very much. That's Energy Analyst Chris Yelland speaking to us about the looming blackouts. Time now for a quick break.